Here.
Councilmember Osk.
Here.
Councilmember Nelson.
Here.
Gilbertson.
Here.
Gardner.
Here.
Fagerly. Davis.
Here.
Schultes.
Here.
Councilmember Butterfield is excused. So 8 present, 1 excused.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mics don't work.
Yeah, the mic's not working.
Not on.
We have to wait for them to work.
No, I don't think we need to. I'm guessing that audio.
All right, well, we'll go to proposed additions or deletions to the agenda or a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion to approve the agenda, and it's been seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Osk.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
And Schultes.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
Passes.
Mayor, I'd just like to point out, only the mics in the room are not working, so if you all speak up, but they are working in our streaming, so everything is going live right now.
Okay. All right. I have a proclamation that I want to read. Whereas the citizens of Willmar place a high value on local control over community services and have chosen to operate a community-owned, locally controlled, not-for-profit electric utility, and whereas Willmar Municipal Utilities has served the community since 1891, providing reliable, efficient, and cost-effective electricity to homes, businesses, schools, social services, and local government agencies, and whereas Willmar Municipal Utilities is a valuable community asset contributing to the well-being of citizens through energy efficiency, customer service, environmental stewardship, economic development, and safety awareness, and whereas Willmar Municipal Utilities is part of more than 2,000 public power systems across the United States, collectively serving 49 million people, and demonstrating that public power is dedicated to service, community, and consumer value. And whereas Public Power Week is an annual national event that highlights the many community benefits of public power and recognizes the important contributions of public utilities and their employees. Now therefore, I, Douglas Reese, Mayor of the City of Willmar, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim October 5 through 11, 2025 as Public Power Week in the City of Willmar, Minnesota, in appreciation of Willmar Municipal Utilities, our hometown electric utility. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Willmar to be affixed to this 6th day of October 2025. You want to say anything, Sharon?
I think you said it well, Mr.
Did
Mayor.
I? All right.
Thank you.
Next is the consent agenda. Vernay, City Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, tonight for your approval, I have the City Council minutes of September 15th, 2025, the Planning Commission minutes of September 17th, 2025 as a draft, the Airport Commission minutes of September 22nd, 25 as a draft, the Human Rights Commission minutes of January 28th, 25, the Human Rights Commission minutes of May 6th, 25, the Human Rights Commission minutes of July 29th, 25, Willmar Municipal Utilities Commission minutes of September 22nd, 25, the June 2025 2025 Parks and Recreation Board meeting minutes, the Public Works Overhead Door Replacement and Repair Project, Public Works Garage Block Repair, the Dover Township Fire Agreement, the Buffalo Lakes Lions Club's Conduct Off-Site Lawful Gambling Application, the Prairie Lakes Chapter Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation Lawful Gambling Application, the Accounts Payable Report from 9/10/25 through 10/1/25. And for your information, I have the September monthly budget or building report.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Baggerly,
Aye.
Davis. Aye. Schultes,
Aye.
and Osk.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 noes.
We have nobody signed up for the open forum. So we'll go to the public hearing. And I'll open the hearing, the public hearing, and call on Jared Vogie.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Get the presentation pulled up here. As indicated, this is the public hearing, or the improvement hearing for the 2026 Construction Improvements Project. I have a short presentation, and then, since it is a public hearing, public will have an opportunity to provide any comments that they so choose regarding the projects proposed. This slide identifies the various project types. Listed at the top are the reconstruction projects. That would be 4th Street from Willmar Avenue to Trott Avenue, and 16th Street from Willmar Avenue to Trott Avenue. Below that are the overlay areas, primarily Industrial Drive and Trott Avenue. We also have a path improvement project that is planned along Lakeland Drive. Seal coating improvements, I won't read all those. We'll have a map here in a second that'll show where those are all located. We do have a bridge maintenance project. That is the 1st Street Bridge related to the deck surface. Storm sewer improvements along Willmar Avenue, and then some capital storm sewer improvements that we'll go through a little bit more in detail here in a minute. Here's the map that I alluded to. The light blue areas identified are the mill and overlay areas, again, industrial and Trott. The pink represents the street and utility reconstruction projects. And again, that's been identified as 4th and 16th. Path improvements along Lakeland Drive in red. We have the crack fill and seal coat in the yellow. The crack seal only in in orange. Those areas, what's the difference between crack seal and seal coat? One might ask. The areas in orange are planned for only the cracks in the pavement to be filled next year, and the chip seal will not go over the top of it. Those are areas that were recently milled and overlaid, and we want to make sure that we're protecting that investment by sealing up those cracks. Bridge maintenance project is identified there for you in green. The trunk storm sewer improvements in the darker blue along Willmar Avenue. And then finally in purple, the storm sewer capital improvement projects. So considerations for the improvements as it relates specifically to whether or not a street would be reconstructed or milled and overlaid. Sanitary sewer, the areas proposed, both 4th and 16th, have clay and concrete pipes, and then brick and block mortar manholes, which are susceptible to infiltration and inflow. And again, we don't want to be treating clean water at our wastewater treatment facility. Water main in those project areas consists of both asbestos cement and cast iron pipe. The storm sewer, similar to the sanitary sewer, is also clay and concrete pipes with brick and block mortar manholes. And then the streets, I think we're all familiar with the street surfaces in those areas. Definitely significant cracking. Our public works staff patches potholes, and in some areas, there's also settlements. So the primary difference between a reconstruction and an overlay project is that in a reconstruction project, essentially the entire pavement surface, including the concrete curb and gutter and sidewalk is removed. Whereas in an overlay area, just the upper layer of pavement is removed and replaced. Spot curb repair, spot sidewalk repair in areas where the curb and sidewalk have been structurally compromised. Street widths, I did want to review that a little bit. The figure on the left identifies the existing street widths. Starting on the far left at 16th Street, the northern portion of that street is 32 feet wide. The southern portion is 40 feet wide. Moving over to the right-hand side, 16th Street, street width being proposed right now as part of the improvement would be 36 feet wide. That would accommodate parking on both sides, and it would provide a consistent street width along that corridor. 4th Street currently is approximately 52 feet wide, and that is being proposed at 38 feet. 38 feet, similar to 36, accommodates parking on both sides, and it is a reduction in the overall pavement surface as it relates to both upfront capital costs as well as long-term maintenance costs associated with a street that is that wide. Sidewalk and path locations. Draw your attention to this. This is the Lakeland Drive Improvements Project with the path that the city successfully obtained funding for. What you'll notice is the path is proposed between Trunk Highway 12 and Civic Center Drive along the east side. The small segment of sidewalk on the west side of Lakeland Drive between Trunk Highway 12 and the railroad is proposed to remain in place. This is simply an exhibit illustrating the sidewalk along 4th Street exists on both sides and is being proposed to be replaced on both sides. So what will the new improvements look like? The sanitary sewer piping will be new, consisting of PVC. The individual sewer services to residents or businesses will be replaced from the main to the right-of-way, and there will be new manholes associated with that. Similarly, new water main piping, there will be new hydrants, new valves, and the water services will also be replaced from the main in the street and to the property line or the right-of-way. Storm sewer will have new piping with precast concrete structures, which is the industry standard today, and then new concrete curb and gutter also. The 16th Street improvements also identifies a stormwater improvement, which consists of a pond in Minagasco Park. City staff is currently working with CenterPoint Energy on the specifics associated with locating that within Minagasco Park. Overlay improvements, again, in light blue shown on the screen, Industrial Drive and Trott Avenue. Mill and overlay, this is just a typical section that identifies what that really means. So that what's being proposed is the upper 2.5 inches of pavement would be milled, and then a new layer of 2.5 inch thick bituminous would be placed over the top of it, which will improve the deficiencies that are in those streets currently. Estimated project costs are shown there on the screen. 4th Street is estimated at approximately $5.8 million. 16th Street, approximately $3 million. The mill and overlay improvement project of approximately 1.36. Lakeland Drive path improvements around 1.6 million. The seal coat improvement projects have been estimated at 428,500. The First Street or the bridge maintenance project has been estimated at 200,000. Those trunk storm sewer improvements along Willmar Avenue, 810,000. And then the capital improvement projects for storm sewer of 165,900. This is a summary of what the components associated with these various projects consist of. You'll notice that the street reconstruction portion is approximately 4.3 million. The storm sewer, 1.3, sanitary, 1.6, water main, 1.6, overlays, again, similar to the previous slide we saw, 1.36 million. The path project, seal coat, bridge, storm sewer, and capital storm sewer improvement projects. This is another breakdown of those same funds for the various projects based on the street, the storm, and the sanitary and water main. For those first two there, those are the reconstruction projects of 4th and 16th respectively. And then the overlay and the other projects is identified there for you as well. Just a further breakdown of the costs that the previous slides shared. Anticipated project funding sources for the improvements include assessments, state aid participation, Willmar Municipal Utilities, wastewater funds, local option sales tax, city funds, and then state funds. Assessments, hang on 1 second. The assessments, state aid, grant, MUC, wastewater, all of those are broken down based on the project. So in total, the anticipated amount for all the projects listed in the preliminary engineering report is approximately $1.8 million. State aid participation of just over $1 million. The grant listed there is for the Lakeland Drive Trail project. MUC's contribution is estimated at 1.3 million. Wastewater fund of 1.65. Local option sales tax of approximately 1.1, and that would leave a remaining city total cost of just shy of 5.5 million. The assessments, as it relates to the various components for reconstruction projects, we've estimated the street reconstruction assessment to be approximately $67 to $71 per foot. Sanitary sewer, $17 to $20 per foot. The sanitary sewer services have been estimated between $900 and $1,000 each. Water main reconstruction, estimated between $21 and $25 a foot. Water services, estimated between $1,100 and $1,200 a foot. Storm sewer reconstruction, $14 to $18 a foot, and then the overlays, depending on the lot classifications. If council recalls, the previous projects that were completed identified lots in the small, medium, and large range, and the 3,500 would be for the small, the 7,000 would be the upper end for the large ranges. So those are the breakdowns just by way of reference. Those are estimated to be within 3 or 5%, depending on the specific item, of the actual assessments that were levied for the 2025 improvements. Project schedule. We presented the preliminary engineering report to council so that a public hearing could be called for this evening. We did conduct an open house on October 1st. We had approximately 6 residents along the improvement areas, 8 residents along the improvement areas attend the open house. We are at the public hearing this evening. Pending public input, there is a resolution in your packets this evening. Moving forward, assuming plans are authorized, the plans and specifications would come back before you again in February for authorization to advertise. At that point, we would receive bids from contractors, and then we would know the true project costs. Again, these are estimates that have been developed as part of the preliminary engineering process. That would allow for a bid opening to occur in March, potential award of contracts in April. Again, those contracts would come back before council for approval before those would move forward. And that would allow for an assessment hearing to be conducted in August with construction to occur between May and October. And with that, Mayor, Council, that concludes the presentation. And I will take any council, or questions that council might have at this time. Otherwise, it would be the opportunity for the public.
Carl?
So regarding the Fourth Street project, I'm pretty sure this has been addressed before, but just to clarify or refresh my memory, the center of the road will stay the same. Each side will come in 7 feet roughly and then will the sidewalks as well?
Roughly, yes.
Okay, how about the
So the
setback?
so just, and that'll all be determined during final design, but the sidewalks are anticipated to remain approximately at the right of way, so the boulevard width would increase.
To, you know, how much it will be, boulevard?
Extra 7
Okay,
each side.
sure, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Anybody else got questions? If not, I'll vote. Oh, Steve?
Yeah, looking at our packets, there seems to be a letter from the city administrator regarding projects that staff is recommending to pull out of what Mr. Vogie just briefed. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Not at this time, no. This is the public hearing time. That's for discussion afterwards.
Okay.
Anything else? Rick?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So on 16th Street and 4th Street, you're reducing the size of the street. How about the trees, and will they have to be still cut down, or are you just gonna take the bad ones down?
Yeah, so the practice on street reconstructions, and it's a great question. Any trees that we can save, we're gonna save. We do work with Public Works staff and the Public Works arborist to evaluate the condition of the trees before we take them down. What we run into a lot is we find that trees over time have been planted next to our curb stops and our sewer services. And in order to replace those trees can't exist in those locations. We try to work around them as much as we can, but we can't have a 10-foot hole with a 40-foot tree right next to it. And ultimately, when we cut roots on trees, they might not die the first year, but a couple of years down the road, they do.
And that extra footage that the people will gain, how does that work? They have to put it on their abstract, get a new legal description, or?
No, actually, so the city right-of-way within those locations already accommodates that and is established. So it doesn't impact the property owners whatsoever. It's simply, there'll be some additional grass to mow in the boulevard area. Yep,
But they'll have to maintain it if it's in front of their house.
as they do on every street, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
Any other questions? If not, I'll open it to the public for comments, questions. Anybody wishing to speak to this? Give us your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name's Lisa Bierke. I'm a proud multi-generational resident of Willmar. I currently live on 16th Street, and I will be greatly impacted by this project, proposed project. My great-grandmother was the proprietor of the old Willmar Hotel. My grandmother waited on the Machine Gun Kelly gang right before they came around the corner and robbed the Bank of Willmar. My grandfather owned L's Barber on Benson Avenue. My father worked at the Willmar Tribune and learned how to type the print for the Tribune as they changed from manual typesetting. I am a Candiac County employee for over 36 years. I would like it known my objection to part of the project. I understand the need to upgrade the water and the sewer, and we have desperate need of repair of potholes and cracks, and the water never drains on our street. And I disagree with the aesthetic components of widening our street here from Trot to Monongalia, narrowing, or vice versa. Widening it from Trot to Monongalia, narrowing it from Willmar Avenue to Monongalia. And I believe that's just unnecessary. It's an aesthetic aspect of a project that there is no safety concerns. There's no need for that to happen. I would also like to point out that the Madagascar Park is owned by CenterPoint Energy, which is a Fortune 500 company, and is not being assessed anything on this project, but owns a lot of that property from Trot to Minnesota. I think that they should help bear part of this financial burden that's being asked of us. I did ask for a breakdown of the projection costs specifically, but I did not receive that from Bolton and Menk, so I could kind of ascertain what we would be looking at. My final point of contention is that the estimated market value on my personal property is only $164,000. I contend that the over $10,000 I'm being assessed for this project, I will never recoup that. It will not improve the value of my property. So I'm asking the council members to reconsider some of this project and the assessment burden it's putting on me as a single person trying to make it here. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa.
I'm not so good with public speaking. My name is Mary Jo Mullner. I live on 4th Street Southwest. My concerns or my questions are basically widening or narrowing the road. That road is a traveled road from downtown to Willmar Avenue. We get the school buses go there. Anyways, lots of traffic on that one. My question is, has anybody considered maybe instead of narrowing the road, but dedicating maybe a bike path on that road? And that's also the street that we have our parade on. And so we get a lot of overflow people for that. So that's just one of the things that I was considering also, like she had said about aesthetics. Why narrow the road? I mean, okay, it might be a little bit cheaper to plow it if it's more narrower, but think about the amount of traffic that goes up and down that road and connecting the bike paths to other locations. And that's a lot of money for a lot of us to have to be coming up with. I'm also retired like a lot of the people on my community, on my block, and changing the value of our homes, we won't recoup a lot of that expense. So we're just asking for help. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Do you address some of those, Jared, individually, or do you want to do it here?
Mayor and council, I can certainly do that now as best I'm able. Otherwise, we can wait until all the public comments been received.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Street widths, I guess, were the topic that was brought up twice here. Certainly, it's council's prerogative to adjust the street width to whatever staff has proposed the street widths that we believe are adequate to serve the needs of those corridors. And also, as we've discussed before, definitely reduces the upfront capital cost, the long-term maintenance costs, and that's why they were proposed that way. So certainly we can expand them, but that's the reasoning about why they were proposed at the widths they have. There was made mention to Madagascar Park and the fact that CenterPoint Energy is not paying assessments. That is accurate. There is an agreement in place with CenterPoint Energy, formerly Madagascar, as it relates to that park and the city's use of that. So that's why they're not on there, because it's stated in that agreement. I think that covers the question so far.
Thank you. There's no one else that's going to speak. I'm going to close the hearing. All right, the hearing is closed. We need a motion to adopt the resolution.
I think there were some more questions that we were told to wait till the public hearing was closed.
I think so.
Yeah,
What now?
I think there are questions.
Oh, from the
From the
council?
council,
Yeah,
we
that's
were
fine.
told to wait till
Regarding
the
the
public
memo.
hearing was closed.
Yeah, that's fine. So, who's got questions? Right, Steve, I'll start with you, then Tom, and then Justin.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have two questions, actually. Mr. Bogie, what is the standard street width in Willmar? Is there a standard that we would like to aspire to?
Yeah, so the standard street width within the city of Willmar, should a new development come in, is 32 feet.
And remind me again from your presentation, because I don't remember off the top of my head, what were the widths you're proposing for 4th and 16th?
36 and 38,
So both are wider than our standard residential development.
correct.
Second thing is, our packet has a memo from staff wanting to reduce the size of the bonding package. So if we're gonna have a resolution that authorizes him to start making plans, which I think is what the resolution is going to be, why do we wanna have him start making plans for something we're going to pull out of the bonding package, or staff recommends pulling out?
I'll have our city administrator address that. Leslie?
Yes. So the memo is the one, you're correct, that we want to get into that bonding. And we have already discussed with our Jared and staff on these projects that we will want to move forward for 2026. So they will only be working on these projects in the memo if the city council approves the projects going forward. And that is because we do have the turn lane on Highway 40 that still needs to come into play, and the extension of Willmar Avenue, and a new street in the industrial park. So we want to make sure we have those dollars also accounted for in the bonding, and try to maintain that $5 to $6 million worth of bonding costs.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we weren't voting to approve.
Correct.
To have him,
No.
because 16th Street got pulled out,
Yes,
which she doesn't know yet.
No.
She does now. I got pulled out, but I want to have him spending time, resources, designing something that we're not going to do next year.
that's correct.
Tom? You did? And Justin?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Two things. The first speaker, Lisa, mentioned that she was requesting information from Bolton and Mink and had not received that. Is that information you could provide to her?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and your follow-up with her then after that?
Yep.
And second of all, obviously, if the streets are kept at their current widths, how does that affect assessment costs for the homeowners that live on there? Particularly, I'm thinking about 4th. If it stayed as wide as it currently is, what's going to happen to street assessments?
Well, potentially they could go up
That's what I
because of the extra width, for sure. Because a 52-foot wide street will be significantly more costly than the numbers that have been presented tonight.
Thank you.
Vicki?
My question was his question.
You stole it, huh?
Yeah, he stole my question.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Rick? Carl? Tom? No? Audrey?
Yeah. There is a difference between the cost for 16th Street and for 4th Street. Pretty substantial difference. Couple million? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Is that simply the width of the street, or why is 4th Street more expensive than 16th Street if we're going to pretty close to the same width?
It's a great question. It might not seem like it, but 16th Street is almost 1,000 feet shorter than 4th Street, which makes a
Okay.
big difference. So 16th is approximately 2,300 feet long. 4th Street is approximately 3,150. So that's a big deal.
Yes, go ahead, Audrey.
My second question was the comment regarding a bike lane or a bike path on 4th Street if it was left wider or in the design of the street. I know I've asked this question before, but I don't remember the plans that are in the bike plans as far as where people should be riding bike safely.
Yeah, so, excuse me, we'll compare both the SS4A plan and the bike ped plan that was recently completed. I do not believe that those corridors, 4th Street specifically was identified as a corridor for bike and ped. I know 7th was, obviously 1st is. There's sidewalk that will exist on 4th. I guess what I'm saying is we'll review the plans, and there are other pedestrian facilities in close proximity to 4th Street as well, so.
When reviewing the plans, I know some of the bike ones are on the sidewalk. Is that something to review, that the sidewalk should be wider in the case where the boulevard is? And I know the trees are part of the issue there, but if there would be a wider place to ride bike on versus on the street.
Yeah, during the final design, that would all need to be taken into account for sure.
Okay, is that something that we can still look at from how it goes into the bike?
Oh,
the-
for sure.
The plans that we just got?
Yep,
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
thank you.
Any other questions? Tom?
Along those lines, 4th Street, I believe, is almost all uncontrolled intersections. Is that correct? Will any of that change after this?
The existing traffic patterns during the design process will definitely be evaluated because it is one of the recommendations of the SS4A plan to evaluate uncontrolled intersections within the community. So I don't have a definitive answer for you yet, but I would be shocked if some traffic control did not change as a result of this project.
Questions? All right, if there's no further questions, I'd like a motion.
Make a motion to order the 2026 street and other improvements and approve the preparation of plans and specifications as outlined in the memo from staff.
We have a second?
Second.
We got a second discussion. Hearing none? Roll call.
Councilmember Gilbertson,
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Tygerly,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Schultes,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
and Nelson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes.
Thanks, Council.
Next is an ordinance to amend the amended the municipal electric rates, and I'll call on Jaron Smith.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. So what you have in front of you is an ordinance to amend the 2026 electric rates. It's actually a correction. Back in 2023, we performed a rate study and we determined rates for the years 24, 25, and 26. There was an ordinance to implement those rates that was approved in November of 2023. In the meantime, we identified that there were a couple errors in the 2026 rates. And basically, we have summer and non-summer rates. There were 2 of those that were flip-flopped. And then we also offer a 2% discount for customers that receive primary service, and that 2% discount wasn't applied. So we have 3 areas that we would like to correct in the 2026 rates. We introduced this new ordinance on August 11th at the Utility Commission. We held a public hearing and approved the corrections to the ordinance in August 25th. And then this ordinance was introduced at the City Council level at the first meeting in September. If you'd like to actually see those changes to the 2026 rates, they are on page 89 of your packet. We included a red line copy there. And you can see how the summer and winter rates are flip-flopped. And then again on page 90, there's a couple red lines. I can answer any questions you have right now, otherwise we would be looking for public input, and then if it's the wishes of the city council, an approval to adopt the ordinance 1531, and then also approval to publish an ordinance by summary. So originally, the full ordinance was published for all 3 years, and since we're only making corrections to the 2026 rates, we suggest making an ordinance by summary, or publishing the ordinance by summary.
I'll, as soon as you're done, which I assume you are done,
Unless there's questions.
I'll open the public hearing. All right, thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Anyone, the public wishing to speak in regards to the utilities rates? Anyone wishing to speak? If there's no one to speak, I will close the hearing and bring it up to the council.
Make a motion to adopt the ordinance amending ordinance number 1531.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion. There is none, roll call.
Councilmember Gardner,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson, and Gilbertson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes. Next, we need a motion to publish the ordinance by summary.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Fagerly,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Butterfield,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson. Gilbertson,
Aye.
and Gardner.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes. Next, I'll call on our city clerk, Renee Larson, for a special assessment hearing for unpaid weed and grass mowing removal charges.
Would you like me to come in front of the council, or am I okay over here?
As long as we can hear you, you're okay where you are.
I'll be loud. So tonight, the following properties were noticed of overgrown grass. They were asked to cut their grass, and then when they didn't do so within the required time, the city went in and did the lawn trimming for them, and they were billed, and it was multiple occasions. They have since had notice of their statements and have gone unpaid, and so we're asking the council tonight to certify the amounts that are owed to the county auditor on 2026 taxes. They include the property, parcel number 957401330. That's 416 Trot Avenue Southeast in the amount of $772.04. And parcel number 958201170. That's 1016 Ella Avenue Northwest in the amount of $961.08.
All right, I'll open the public hearing. Is anyone wishing to speak to this? Anyone wishing to speak? No one? I'll close the hearing. Need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion. Justin?
I'm just curious about how this process works. I'm assuming that if they're not maintaining their yards, there's still more grass growing to our season. They're going to be billed again in this calendar year? Like, does it go by calendar year? Or do some of these bills go back to 2024?
I'm not sure. I'm wondering if Jared can help, because Public Works manages, or, I'm sorry, Justin. Public Works is the department that manages the grass, so.
Yeah, that's a good question. So typically it goes by calendar year because we come to the council around this time of year to catch up on the past bills accumulated throughout the summer. For both of these parcels, it's been multiple trips over there, and that's why the costs are what they are.
And if you mow again, you bill them again, it'll appear next year?
Correct.
Okay,
If the bill does not get paid.
right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Enlighten a little bit more on that. It's under state statutes as to when we have to present these to the council. So we have a limited window. So we can't wait till late October to do that. So that's why you see it now.
That's great.
Carl?
Just have a question on how the fee is established. Is it a flat fee every time you go mow? It's $100 or?
Nope, so we use the fee schedule, the city's fee schedule, depending on what equipment we use to mow it. If it's a push mower, we use the push mower fee schedule times the amount of hours. If it's two mowers or whatever the case may be, we just follow the fee schedule. Same with labor. We have that set fee schedule price. If we're out there for 2 hours, this is what the hourly bill rate is. And then there's a $75 administrative cost to each of these. And that goes to creating the invoices, sending them, staff rechecking our action here tonight. A combination of all that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Tom?
I'm just wondering if any of these have been on prior. I believe that 416 trot is vacant. I think every year we've been going out there.
This is for sure the second year that we've basically mowed it nonstop.
So what do we do with the owner? We just send him a notice that take care of it and he doesn't, we go back out every week we're sending him out a notice then or what?
I don't know if it's quite weekly, but as the grass gets to that 7-inch barrier, then, you know, we've tried knocking on the door. We don't get an answer. I don't know if there's a better way to do it other than the way we're doing it right now. It's unfortunate because it's a lot of time that we're putting into it, you know, a lot of staff time, a lot of time here at the council for mowing grass, so.
To say nothing about what it looks like.
Correct.
Any other, Audrey?
Thank you, Mayor Reese. I think we've talked about this before, the notification process. And is it possible to change our notification process so that if we have a chronic one or, like, they get a couple weeks, don't they, if we give them a notice, don't they have a time frame in which they can get the lawn mowed?
7 days.
7 days,
Yep.
okay. And so, have we talked about that where you have chronic ones that, you know, is 7 days reasonable? Maybe it is, I don't know.
We could certainly discuss that internally, and if, if council would like to extend that, shorten that, however that may be. I would be guessing, though, if we did that for one, we should do it for everyone. And whether or not we want to do that, I don't know what the right answer is for that.
I just know we have some chronic ones, and it just feels like if that's their intention, then how do we, you know, how can we not have to go through that process if we know that what the end result's going to be, that they have no intention of doing it?
Sure.
So,
We can certainly,
curious about that.
certainly look into that and see what options that are available and what we could do to address some of those.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any more questions? Vicki?
How many yards would you say you have to mow every summer?
Oh, I would guess between physically mowing them and at least checking, following up on a citizen concern, it's probably 50 to 75, somewhere in there. Unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common from what I've seen. That's about the best guess I can give you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any more questions? Otherwise, we should have a roll call. Roll call?
Councilmember Fagerly.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Oss.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes. Next, I'll open the public hearing for a special assessment hearing for unpaid fire alarms and system charges, and to call on, once again, our city clerk, Brene Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Again, these properties had fire calls that were, I think most of them are false alarms. They were billed for them by the fire department, and those bills have remained unpaid by the property owners. And so we are requesting that the council certify the amounts that are unpaid so they can go to the county auditor for collections in 2026. They include parcel number 950091400. Address is 111, or 1112 Lake Avenue Northwest, name of $500. Parcel number 951420280. That's 1401 and 1405 19th Avenue Southeast, in the amount of $500. Parcel number 959131220. That's 511 and 515 Lakeland Drive Southeast, in the amount of $500. And parcel number 959090160. That's 420 and 430 30th Street Northwest, in the amount of $1,000. Looking for a motion to approve that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Discussion. Justin?
It's a public hearing, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Anybody wishing to comment? If not, I'll close the public hearing and call on Justin.
Thank you. I don't know if I have a question. I'm just wanting to express, again, frustration over reoccurring instances here. And so I'm assuming that all three of these properties are owned by the same LLC, organization, individual. And I guess my question would be like, is there a higher fee charged alarm system malfunction and this is happening and over again? Do we charge more for that?
I believe we do. Kyle's looking at the fee schedule right now.
Okay.
But I believe there is a recurring increase for alarm. I think we have a grace of 1, and then they have so long to fix the problem, and then if it happens again, if they don't fix the problem, then they get charged.
Okay.
Audrey?
So maybe just as a follow-up to that, is this a practice that they just let them go on to their taxes with these if they've been more than once? Or,
Minnesota statute allows for it, that it be added to their property
so
tax.
I guess, is it the first time for us on these properties to do that, or is this like a regular yearly occurrence?
I'm not sure about these properties. I was more familiar with the grass.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the fire.
Okay.
Any other questions? Justin?
Or just, if you can follow up with Chief Hansen since he's absent tonight and have him get in touch with us.
Otherwise, roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
And Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
Motion passes. Next, I'll call on Operations Director Kyle Box in regards to assignment and assumption of lease.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight, for your consideration is an amendment to the lease that the city has with the Stingers organization. Earlier this month, late last month, the city was informed that Willmar Baseball LLC has sold the Willmar Stingers to the Willmar Ball Club LLC. New ownership of the Stinger baseball team will continue to operate under the existing lease agreement that's currently in place through August 25th, 2029.
In accordance with the existing lease agreement, the assignment of the lease requires the express consent of the city, as specified specifically in section 49 of the lease agreement, which is attached in your packet. The city has drafted an assignment and assumption of lease for consideration by the council. And additionally, this has been before the Northwoods League and has previously acted on this action and pending city council action tonight. We'll have those documents signed and recorded, or signed and scanned in, excuse me. I will stand for any questions.
Anybody got questions?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have representatives from the Stingers here as well. I'd invite them if they want to say anything, but they are here as well if you have questions for them.
You guys want to say anything? You've been very successful in this city.
You want to say something?
Up to you.
Yeah, come on up.
I remember when you first came to us.
Well, thanks, Kyle. Thanks, members of the council. Mr. Mayor, Mark Jerzak, co-owner of Willmar Baseball, has seen the Stingers, and we've got James Gibson here as well, that is the manager of Willmar Ball Club LLC. Will be taking over the lease, and we're excited to have him be a part of it. And Ryan and I will still be a part of the Stingers here, the operation for the next 2 years at least. But James is taking over the team, and a part of that is obviously the lease here with Kyle Leslie. So, but it's been 16 years, and at some point Ryan and I had to have some type of exit plan in any business, and we feel this is going to be a great transition. We needed the right person, and James is that right person to take this to the next level, but also have a nice transition, because we want the Stingers here for the next 16 years and 16 years after that. And so we feel this is a great partnership that we've formed, and to take it to the next level. So any questions or?
Been a great asset to our community, in building community.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been tremendous. I mean, the businesses and the citizens and the season ticket holders and the host families have, really done a great service to bring this ball club to where it's at. And so without them, it doesn't happen. So they've supported it for 16 years and will continue to support it, and great nights at the ballpark for families and businesses alike.
Absolutely, very enjoyable.
So, thank you.
Anybody got questions or comments? Otherwise,
Good.
We don't have a motion yet, do we? Looking for a motion.
So move.
Second.
We got a motion and it's seconded. Any discussion? Roll call.
Audrey.
Oh, Audrey, I didn't see you, I'm sorry.
That's okay, just kind of a last thought. I don't know if the new owner would like to say anything or not. It'd be great to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Is the deal done?
So my name is James Gibson. It's really nice to meet everybody, and I just want to say I really admire what Mark and Ryan have established here in terms of the Willmar Stingers. It's such a great community asset. My overall objective would be to just continue to build on all of the success they've had in creating a great fan experience. So we've got a whole continuity plan. They're going to continue to run the day-to-day this season and beyond as well. So that's really the plan over time, is just to continue to improve the fan experience and the overall value of the asset.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Roll call.
Councilmember Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Ost.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
And Davis.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council.
Next is a briefing on annexation of land owned by Vaxanova in Willmar Township, and I'll call on Planning and Development Director Christopher Corbett. This is for information only, correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, yes, tonight is only for information only. I imagine in the near future, this will come back to you all with an agreement. So on the screen is Epitopics. It's a parcel just north of our city boundary, so northwest. The parent company is Vaxinova, and they are they approached the city earlier this year to annex the property into the city for future construction. In your packet today is the petition, a few renderings or sites, aerial pictures of the land to be annexed, and then you have the orderly annexation agreement as well. We're waiting, just a few moving parts to it. We're still waiting for the township to have their meeting on this and to vote. And then we'll enter negotiations following our annexation policy and statute, state statute. And then this will come back to you all to be executed for agreement. So that's what I have. But I'll take any questions that you
I got
all
a
are curious
question.
about it.
They're gonna be expanding, building. Where are they gonna build? Would there be another annexation?
No, so the parcel that they are wanting to annex into the city and build on is the one that is north of the site, the current site that they have there.
Okay,
I'm not sure if you can see that on your screen.
but that's not being annexed right now.
That is the one that's being annexed. The
That is the-
parcel is 33-007-0020.
Okay, I thought the yellow line was showing us what was being annexed.
That's city limits. The yellow line is city limits.
Okay. Vicky?
So then there's land to the west of it too that Epitopics has? Are they going to annex that as well?
At this time, they are not pursuing to annex that L-shaped parcel, but in the near future, they might.
Would it be easier just to do it all at once?
It would, but we were petitioned by them, and we can always go back to them and request a game plan for that. They can't include it in this annexation, and so that agreement may look different when it comes back to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes, Leslie?
In regard to that other parcel that they have, at this time, they're not looking to annex that. They may have other ideas for that property right now.
Do you have questions, Jess?
Not anymore.
Anybody got more questions?
Okay, that's what I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
That was for information only. Okay,
Yes.
thank you,
Thank you.
Christopher. Next is special assessments against lands outside the city limits. Renee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Property parcel number 33-008-0012 is 3280 7th Avenue Northwest. That lays just outside or on the edge of project 2503-B. That 7th Avenue Northwest that had a mill and overlay this summer. They lay outside the city limits. Per Minnesota statute, the city isn't allowed to assess them, and they were part of the assessment approved projects that we assessed last month. So we are asking that they, or it is a recommendation that this special assessment be delayed until such time as the benefited property is annexed into the city limits. We have done this in the past, and properties, when they are annexed, then come back before the council for approval of the assessment, and a hearing is held at that time to enroll them back into the assessment project. But according to Minnesota statute, at this time, we aren't, it isn't something that we can actually assess to the property because they aren't in our city limits. So I'm looking for approval of a resolution to delay that special assessment until the benefited property is annexed into the city limits.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion. Tom?
What is the dollar figure on that assessment?
6775.
Renee, does that change by time, as time goes by? Is there an inflation cost?
I'm not sure, historically, when the last parcel that had this circumstance applied, there was a calculation of interest, but I'm not sure how it was calculated. That's something the city engineer did at the time. And so I couldn't say at what point that changes, but they did pay an additional amount from the original assessment.
Robert?
Robert might be able to address that.
Oh, yeah.
No, go ahead.
Mayor, members of council, thank you. The resolution documents, I think, what the value of the assessment would have been if imposed this year. But it is not binding on the city. If the city has different procedures in place, or given the length of time, believes that some inflator to that amount should be recouped at the time it imposes the assessment following annexation, the city council would be free to do that at that time.
So there could be a,
Yeah, the amount would be determined at the time the assessment is actually imposed, actually after annexation.
thank you. Carl?
So has the property owner requested annexation, or is this eminent domain, or so?
My understanding, council member, is this was a parcel of property just beyond the city boundary that had a small frontage on the city street that was improved. That parcel is not in the city, so the city has no legal authority to assess it currently. I'm not aware of any imminent plans for annexation. This is simply to note that if it does in the future, the city considers that property to have benefited from this project and has the right to assess at that time.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Tom?
I guess is an alternative that we just roll this into our budget and pay for it now and just clean it up as our mistake.
It'll just go, it's part of the bond payment anyway, so we'll be paying it through the bond payments over time. So the assessment will go off, but that'll be part of the bond payment anyway.
I guess the
So
paperwork,
there's no need for us to pay it up front.
paperwork to follow up in 10 years when it gets annexed in is what I'm wondering. Do we need to do that?
We would have to do that anyway.
Any other questions? If not, I need a motion to approve the resolution delaying
have a
the
motion.
special assessment.
We already have a motion on the table,
We do,
Mr. Mayor.
all right. Okay. Roll call.
Councilmember Schultes,
Aye.
Osk,
Aye.
Nelson. Aye. Gilbertson,
Aye.
Gardner,
Aye.
Fagerly,
Aye.
Davis. Aye. And Butterfield.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes. Next, it's an introduction of ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 3, sanitary sewer system. We'll call on environmental specialist Sarah Seatsma. Sarah.
Good evening. Yes, so I explained this briefly during the last council meeting, brought up the need for it, kind of what got us to this spot today. Staff is bringing a pretty significant amendment to the existing sanitary sewer ordinance. The main components of that amendment are to establish an inflow and infiltration program. So an effort to reduce the clear water or the non-wastewater that's entering our wastewater system. We did also use this as an opportunity to clean up a few other things in this chapter at this time also. So I will not go through every single proposed change, but there are a few things that I want to draw your attention to, and then I can answer any questions or speak to anything else you want tonight also. The first one specifically being near the beginning, right after the definitions updates. This, you got this information tonight, but it was omitted from Friday's version of the packet. So in section 1671B7, we want to update the connection fee language because we do not want to include that specific dollar amount. We want to reflect the city's fee schedule. So we want to adopt that language, change the language right there in item 7. That's the piece that you guys hadn't seen previous to essentially this afternoon. Couple other things I want to cover. So most of what we want to include as far as the I&I, inflow and infiltration program, that language lives in section 16-91. That's, again, the main additions that we're putting into this so that we can set up this inspection program, again, triggered by point of sale, major remodel projects, plumbing reconstructions that are adding or altering or moving plumbing in the home, a couple other minor triggers that would require an inspection also, so that we can start to tackle the I&I that's coming in on these private sewer laterals. I will point out in this 16-91 section, so Councilmember Gilbertson had brought up at the last council meeting wisely, including some information, some kind of boundaries of what staff would be using as far as what would be compliant and what would not be compliant. So we did specifically include objective criteria to avoid giving too much discretion to city staff. I think that makes this more clear for anyone who this applies to, anybody who's reading it, that piece. And then that might be the major ones that I want to point out. But I'm happy to go over anything else that you guys have questions or want to walk through in more detail.
So we need a motion, but if you got questions, feel free to ask. You must have explained it well, Sarah.
I will move to introduce the ordinance and call for public hearing on Monday, November 3rd, on or about 6:30 PM.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Discussion. Rick?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. On the criminal violations,
Yes.
how'd you come up with that?
So that, Mr. Scott might be able to talk more to, but we don't want to be required to, so are you, is what you're referring to at the beginning, under section 16-87?
16102, criminal violations, fines.
Okay. So I will say the beginning, which also deals with criminal and civil, is that we did not want to be required to secure formal conviction for violations of the sewer ordinance to issue fines. So we only wanted the fines to be civil, not criminal on 16102. I would let legal counsel weigh in on that.
Thank you, members of the council. First thing to note is the language in the draft ordinance in your packet, for the most part in section 16102, was already existing. The only things changing are what are shown in underline, and what I do believe the intent of that change was to kind of disentangle the civil fines that the city would be authorized to enforce for violations of this chapter from the criminal prosecution and conviction requirement.
So we'll have a city employee going out and say, oh, you're in violation? We're not gonna give you a fine?
Potentially. I mean, there does need to be an enforcement mechanism to these regulations for them to have any teeth. And there is I would note that there is a due process component that we are adding into the ordinance as well, so that before any significant enforcement action is taken, there would be a hearing convened in front of the council, and the alleged violator would have the opportunity to address the council and try and show cause why a given proposed sanction should not be enforced. So I mean, I think it's been thoroughly considered on how to have a fair process in place for people subject to these proposed regulations.
Well, they do have the option to go to district court then too, don't they?
There's always that option, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if, to be clear, if the council has a hearing like that, a person who's alleged to have violated this ordinance and the city is seeking to impose a sanction on them, thinks that that sanction is unsupported legally, they always have the ability to appeal the decision. Whether I go to district court or the Court of Appeals, I think would be something we'd have to look at, but certainly a judicial remedy available.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Steve?
Thank you, Sarah. How do we know, one of the conditions of having this inspection is prior to the close of escrow when the property is transferred via sale or other transfer of ownership by deed, instrument, and writing. How do we know when somebody's transferring their property to, let's say you have an older family member who wants to transfer their property 5 years, say, before going to a nursing home or whatever, pretty common. How do we know that's gonna happen, and how do they know that this is required when that happens? I know ignorance is no excuse for violating city ordinance, right? But
Sure.
at
Right.
the same time, how do we know to then go in and enforce that ordinance?
So, great question. Part of it is still going to be some more discussions with communities that have this in place and the lessons they've learned, so we can try to avoid some of that catch up. We are gonna do extensive education with the realtors, with the the real estate attorneys, that all of the parties in the closing companies, all of them, so that they know that the city of Willmar now has this ordinance similar to the county, similar to other communities in Candy Ojai County also. And I intend to do as much public education as we can to capture that as well with the realtors. And again, if other communities have recommendations, we're gonna follow those too.
Appreciate it,
Yeah,
thanks.
we recognize that's definitely, again, part of the reason we don't want this to be put in place until January 1st is so we have the time to do all of that outreach and that education rather than, springing it on them in the middle of the year, in the middle of a month.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Audrey?
Called you though.
So it's my understanding, thank you, it's my understanding that the buyer and the seller can say, we don't want to do this if they both agree to it and sign to it.
That would not be an option.
It's not an option.
The inspection is not an option. The inspection would have to be done before closing. And if it is determined that their private lateral in part or in its entirety needs to be repaired or replaced, at that point, it's up to the buyer and seller to decide who's gonna do that. Yes. Not if it's going to be done, but who is going to do it and pay for it. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Little clarification on the remodeling portion of this ordinance. Walk me through that a little bit further. If it exceeds $50,000, any size building, so a multi-million-dollar building has a $55,000 improvement, they would have to be inspected at that point.
Yes, the way it's written right now, yes. Their private lateral would need to be, whether it's a expensive commercial building or somebody's residential home that they're doing a remodel valued at $50,000 or more, it would be a condition of their building permit.
And if they've had it done, when would the next time they do a project have it need to be inspected? Or is it every time?
Yep, so if it's new construction, they do not have to have an inspection done within the 10 years, basically, of hooking up to the city's system. If an inspection has been done and you are in compliance and you do not have to do any repairs or replacement, that's good for 3 years. If an inspection is done and you have to do a repair on part of the system, that's good for 3 years. If the inspection is done and you have to replace the service lateral in its entirety, that's good for 10 years, same as new construction.
So a large building in our community, such as like Bethesda, for example, they're likely going to have to get theirs inspected about every 3 years then.
That is, yeah, that is a potential situation. Mhm.
Any other questions? If not, roll call.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
And Osk.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
The motion passes. Need a motion to publish the ordinance by summary?
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
And Nelson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next is a resolution to acknowledge donations for the third quarter of 2025. Vernay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Tonight, I present to you the donations we've received from the city, or to the city, and the amounts, who they were from. $50 from Darlene Bratberg for the Willmar Fire Explorers, $2,500 from the Willmar Rotary Club for the Rec Scholarship Program, $500 from the Welcoming America for the 2025 Network Conference, $1,000 from Centricare Health Systems for the Welcome Week sponsorship, $250 from the Willmar Area Arts Council for the 2025 Welcome Week, $1,000 from Woodland Centers for the 2025 Welcome Week, $1,000 from Candio High Power Charitable Trust for the Willmar Community Center, $5,000 from the Mentor Network Charitable Foundation for the Fire Department General Supplies, $1,000 from Community Giving for the Willmar Community Center Program Support, $818.33 from grocery bagging events at Cub Foods for the Willmar Police Explorers, and $1,035 from Walmart for the Willmar Police Explorers. And I'm looking for a motion to approve and accept the donations for the third quarter of 2025.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Councilmember Gardner.
Aye.
Fagerly.
Aye.
Davis. Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Osk.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
And Gilbertson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
That motion passes. Next is a summary of conclusions of the evaluation of performance of the city administrator, Leslie Valiant. On September 15th, 2025, the city council held a closed meeting to evaluate the performance of the city administrator, Leslie Valiant. In accordance with governing law at this council meeting, which is the next possible open council meeting following the previously mentioned closed meeting, the city council is required to summarize the conclusions of the evaluation reached by the council at the September 15th, 2025 closed meeting. City Administrator Valiant did not request that such meeting be open to the public. As a result, the evaluation of City Administrator Valiant's performance took place in a closed meeting as provided under the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. As chairperson of this meeting, I will now provide a summary of the conclusions reached by the council from September 15th, 2025 evaluation. City Administrator Valiant has strong technical skills of her job and applies them well to find solutions to issues facing the city. City Administrator Valiant needs to take steps to improve her interpersonal skills. City Administrator Valiant needs to prioritize completion of agreed upon performance goals in the next 6 months. And I move on to the next item on the agenda. Okay?
Okay.
which is setting a budget work session for Monday, October 13th, 2025.
So council, in your, when we set the budget calendar earlier this year, October 13th was our work session date. And we've been working on some variations and things like that, changes that we're looking at on the budget schedule or budget itself. So on the 13th, we would like to bring those options to the council for your review and see if there's some consensus as to moving forward with that and changes that might be able to help change within the budget itself. We would like to have this meeting conducted at the Rice Home Medical Building on 19th Avenue and at 6:30 Monday evening. If that's acceptable, just a motion on that would be fine.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to set that meeting. Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Butterfield.
Aye.
Schultes.
Aye.
Ost.
Aye.
Nelson. Gilbertson.
Aye.
Gardner.
Aye.
And Fagerly.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, council. Thank you for everything.
Next is announcements, and I'm going to recognize Justin DeLeo, because this will be his last council meeting. And he's going to be leaving us this Friday. And I'm going to miss you, Justin. I wish the very best for you. And come back and see us.
Thank you. The feeling's mutual.
All right, anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Ben Saunders. I believe so. I mean, there's a, well, guys, he does.
No.
Million.